Okay, this video is about the consequences of human interactions with the atmosphere, and by the end of the lesson, I want you to be able to explain how human effects affect the atmosphere. So by the end of the lesson, I want you to explain basically pollution in more detail, and when we talk about pollution, air pollution, and then explain the causes and effects of human interactions, and then start to begin to explain ways to reduce atmospheric pollution. So these are consequences of human interactions with the atmosphere. Um, the atmosphere is always in that state of dynamic equilibrium, which means there's always this balance. We've just got the right amount of atmosphere that lets in just the right amount of sunlight and reflects it back out into the atmosphere. The releases of gases into the atmosphere can upset that balance, particularly with carbon dioxide and then manufactured gases such as chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. Remember, it's only been the last 100 years that we've produced those gases, and that's why some people are starting wondering what the effect humans have had on the atmosphere. It's not just releasing gases in the atmosphere. We have always, for a long time, degraded forests and waterways. And remember, forests, they act as a carbon recycler. They, take out carbon in the atmosphere and release oxygen into the atmosphere. And it's the same with waters as well. Obviously, the sea is the biggest carbon filter in our atmosphere. And it has been for the last 50, 60 years that we've been eroding the atmosphere by releasing these chemicals into the atmosphere and then eroding the ozone layer. And this has brought on the onset of climate change. What is climate change? Well, there is a lot of evidence that supports the theory of global change. Climate change is changing. The last 140 years, approximately 0.6 degrees Celsius, we've seen a change. I know it doesn't feel a lot, but it is. The 10 hottest years for the last 100 years have occurred since 1990, so that's quite significant. We're seeing a lot more hotter, drier weather patterns than before, and scientists have predicted that the climate in the next 150 years could increase by 6 degrees Celsius. That's huge. How's climate change changed over time? Well, it's always changing, but if we look at this graph over the last 420,000 years, give or take, we can see that there is a pattern. On the line graph, with the blue is the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and then the red is the temperature. What we notice that when there is a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, temperatures do increase. Now, when you're looking at the timeline of the graph, please notice that the time is age before present. So we're talking 40,000 years, sorry, 400,000 years in sort of time. Humans, I'm just indicating now on the graph, starting to evolve around this time. So, we're talking a long time before humans as well. So, climate change has happened for a very, very long time. So it's very hard to say, oh, climate has increased the last 10 years, because when we look at the scale of some of the evidence, there is a lot of data. How's the Earth warmed? Well, it's warmed for a number of ways, but basically we look at the extent of the composition of the atmosphere. 98% of the Earth's atmosphere is made up of gases, nitrogen and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, small amounts of other gases, as well as water vapor, make up the remaining 2%. Now, it's this chemical composition in the atmosphere that affects climate change. So I'm just going to briefly speak now about the greenhouse and the greenhouse gases and the greenhouse effects, because a lot of people misunderstand what we're talking about, those two words. So as sunlight passes through the Earth's atmosphere and gives out infrared radiation, certain gases trap that radiation in the atmosphere, and that's what keeps the Earth warm. Now, that's fine. That's all to do with nature. That's not a problem, and that's what's given us life on Earth. That's called the greenhouse effect, as you can see with this illustration, and that's natural. That's been happening since the atmosphere was created many billions of years ago. Now, if this greenhouse effect didn't happen, it'd be just simply too cold on Earth. Therefore there would be no life. Now, when humans interact with the atmosphere in a negative way, they unbalance that greenhouse effect. So what I want you to do, just to finish off with, I want you to write down the ways in which humans react with the atmosphere. One would be obviously driving cars, because we burn fossil fuels that give off lots of different chemicals, in particular carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and that goes into the atmosphere and erodes the atmosphere away. Okay, thanks for that.